So I ruffled some feathers the other day. I did a video and I'm talking about how Microsoft, it looks like we know how many Game Pass subscribers that Microsoft has. Now, for me, that's a great thing. I don't think it's just about subscribers. I think it's about, the money that they make and things like that. Both those things really come into play when it comes to what Sony's doing. Now, I ruffled feathers on social media because, oddly enough, that's where a lot of people kind of get out of this. You know what I mean? I think it's like so many people just kind of freak out about some of this stuff. And to me, it's just comedy, And so to be quite honest with you, I was kind of wondering to myself, I'm like, why is Jim Ryan flying all over, crying about the Activision deal? Why aren't they doing a first-party showcase? Like, they aren't focused on the things that they should really be focused on. Like, they have the same 3 games announced that they've had announced for years, and going into next year, we don't really know what to expect. So, yeah, it's a very, very interesting time. And then when you look at the Sony side, to me, it seems like they're scrambling, and they don't seem like they're the confident, Sony that many of us know. And I know some people are going to be like, well, what do you mean? Well, clearly, like Sony in the past, yeah, I mean, they come across as cocky and things like that, but I feel like in particular, this time, Sony are more scared than anything. And, I know people won't probably agree 100% or understand exactly where I'm coming from, but yeah, they seem very scared about this stuff, and we got some even more news today about it, and it just seems like everything that Microsoft is doing is taking food and money right out of Sony's face. And aside from that, I know a lot of people don't believe this because it's not like, I don't know if it's going to totally be the end of Sony as we know it, but clearly Sony's shifting to kind of be more focal of what Microsoft is doing. They're doing more games as a service. They're doing, they switch things around to better match Game Pass with PlayStation Plus. They are taking sort of a stance with PC and mobile now. These are all things that Microsoft have done. And I know somebody might go, well, Sony was doing mobile too in 2006. Okay, but they started doing this stuff more as a response to Microsoft. But I want to get into it. Hey everybody, I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews. Please leave a like on the video. It helps the video to be seen, and I'm looking to get 100 likes on each of these videos. I know it's a small goal, but it's a goal nonetheless, so thank you guys so much. Now, sort of as I covered before, what Microsoft is doing is pretty incredible. And, obviously the games are going to be starting to hit, and it's going to be a really interesting thing to see. But what's interesting here is it's a lengthy Brazil Administrative Council thing where they say that Microsoft itself, the Xbox company, saw income of $2.9 billion worldwide from game subscription services for the console, which means Xbox Game Pass. It's worth noting that the profit is not revealed. So, I was sure to point that out as well the other day. And as noted, Game Pass made up 18% of Microsoft's total Xbox revenues and nearly 30% of its games and services for the period. It also claims that Nintendo Switch Online saw revenues of $932 million, while EA reportedly took in $356 million. No figure was given for Sony's game subscription service, but that's because PlayStation Now, which is now defunct, or the revamped PlayStation Plus, which is presumably too new to have figures submitted. This information was part of Cade's report explaining why it had approved Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard with no restrictions. They also stated that in its judgment, should the Call of Duty series become exclusive, Sony should still have the means to remain competitive like Nintendo. With the acquisition of publishers such as Activision Blizzard, and considering the theoretical risk of the company's content becoming exclusive to Xbox, it is likely that the eventual conclusion of the transaction will give Microsoft a considerable competitive advantage in the console sector. Even so, Cade does not see that such an advantage represents a risk of closing the market for current competitor. As is already seen, Nintendo does not currently rely on any content from Activision to compete in the market. In turn, Sony has several predicates: strength of the world's leading brand for more than 20 years, extensive experience in the sector, larger user base, largest installed base of the consoles, robust catalog of exclusive games, partnerships with multiple third-party publishers, brand loyalty, etc. So yeah, basically, the way that they've kind of handled this, boom, just goes to show you. But the thing that's interesting is that you have to wonder at what point do you think we see Sony possibly sell off PlayStation. And I know people go, oh, well, that's so far-fetched. It's not maybe as far-fetched as people believe, because what if Sony can't match what Microsoft is doing? I know everybody gets tired of hearing, wait for Microsoft to do this, wait for Microsoft to do that. At some point, right, at some point, we have to go, well, the waiting is, is pretty much over. And to me, I just think that it's just a super very interesting point that we keep seeing this kind of happen, this kind of stuff happen over and over again, where it seems like Sony has the edge with something, but the real kind of fact is, do they really? It's like I look at this and I go, well, what edge does Sony really have? I mean, technically they have a small edge with the console sales, but other than that, they don't really have much of anything going for themselves. So, I do find it to be a super interesting and state of fact that we're in. And who do you think would be interested in them? I mean, there's different types of people that could be interested in picking up Sony. You could see anybody really. Maybe Google wants to get back into it with a console. Maybe Amazon wants to get into it, right? Like maybe Samsung wants to get into it. Like there's so many different possibilities, and I don't think Sony is long term for gaming anymore. So yeah, it's very interesting to say the least. And for me, I just think that it's one of those things that bears kind of mentioning, and we should always kind of keep in mind when it comes to this stuff. Like what would happen? Listen, Microsoft is in it for the long haul, buying 35 studios, and all. They're never just going to shut those down. Whereas Sony, on the other hand, they're in a much different kind of precarious situation where, they could very much indeed shut things down. I don't know. I find it to be very interesting. I can't wait to hear what happens in the future. It's going to be one of those things that people are going to definitely kind of have to take their own kind of way away from this, like what's going to happen and things like that. I don't know. Anything could happen. I'm not suggesting it's going to happen anytime soon, but I am saying that Microsoft is playing the long game, and it looks like Sony are just, I don't know what Sony's doing. Sony is trying to catch up. Sony is trying to rush and catch up and kind of get things in a certain way, I guess. I don't know. So I guess we'll wait and see. It should be interesting. With that being said, thank you so much for rocking out with me. I really do appreciate it. It would be awesome. And, I do think that, each and one of you are amazing. Please like the video, share it out. And if you could be so kind as to possibly even, subscribe if you haven't already done so. It's kind of entertaining around here sometimes anyway. Thank you guys so much. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, crap gamer 'em up. Have a fantastic day. Game on. Crap gamer out.